at least a few questions from the press, and then we'll depart for also the technical. So I think thank you. Good morning to all. Afternoon. It's always a pleasing honor to be here in this hall where it's the nation's center point for information dissemination. I'll be very, very brief because the reason why we are here today is just to make some clarity on this information that's out there in the media as far as the ongoing arson case is. As we may all be aware, this matter is before the criminal court under judicial consideration. As such, what we can and cannot say about it is extremely limited. More so, at this point in time, we have to be extremely careful because anything we say can be used against us in any way possible. So we'll be very, very brief and bring you just the facts based on how much we can speak about concerning this issue. However, before I move forward, I would like to draw the attention of the general public to the fact that this case is not just about the criminal defendants that are indicted before the court. It is more about addressing systemic issues in this country. This case has pinched a lot of nerves from people of power who believe that the culture of impunity has been their guiding factor for the commission of crime. So the disinformation is coming from multiple sources. So I want you to see beyond this case and look at the fact that this is about ending the culture of impunity, that even the great corruption in this country is resident of all. So obviously, I expect the kind of attacks that we see coming from all angles about this particular issue. There's been claims and counterclaims about the police attempting to bribe suspect Yanti and trying to coerce him into lying on other co-defendants. I'm here to make clarity that at no point in time did the Liberia National Police at any given instance have an engagement with Mr. Yanti concerning any issue of bribery. Of the names that he listed, there's no one who has got any authority to commit government in that regard. More so, Mr. Yanti has been identified from day one as a person of interest in this case, and he has been on the run. Through mutual cooperation with the Ghanaian police, he was arrested and subsequently turned over. Mr. Yanti was brought back into the country on the 6th, the intervention of a family member who made a request that he was willing to cooperate and become a witness. However, we know that in criminal investigation, cooperating suspects are always dangerous. When he was brought in based on the request of the family member who assisted in this process, we gave him a chance to speak with him and to test the legitimacy of his willingness to assist in the investigation. In the process, it was proven that indeed he could not be trusted. He was already charged even before he was charged in absentia, so even before being arrested. As such, he was brought over at Central Headquarters and subsequently turned over to the court. At no point in time did we ever intend to make a deal with him or to even promise him what he's claiming. The claims that you're hearing and counterclaims, I don't even know which one to believe. 50,000, 200,000, 2,000, whichever one it is. Though I can tell you they made requests that we could not honor. And at no point in time did we enter any agreement with Mr. Yanti to lie or to force him or coerce him in any way, shape, or form to speak falsely against any of the defendants. The LNP will remain resolute. This matter is, like I say, is before the court. We are still looking at for other suspects. Now that we have a full indictment, the diffusion, the Interpol diffusion that we have for the suspects that are alive, I've instructed the Deputy Inspector General for Criminal Services, Intelligence, and Interpol to upgrade that diffusion notice in the Interpol system to a red notice. So over the next few days, that notice will be published. As soon as we get a feedback from NCB, Monrovia receives the feedback from Interpol, it will be published out there. It will be shared with our counterparts around the world to have those criminal suspects repatriated to Nigeria for prosecution. Mr. Yanti returned followed lawful procedures. He was accorded due privileges. The Ghanaian police cooperated with us. The relative of his who engaged and asked us to give him a chance because he wanted to intervene. We have spoken to them. We have their sworn statements and everything. When Mr. Yanti came in, he willingly, in the presence of his lawyer, made sworn statement that we have on record that was videotaped and also written in by his own hand. The video is clear. When it is right, when that time reaches at court, it will be presented for whatever evidence purpose, but at no point in time was he ever forced to do anything of such. I just want to let you stop here and we entertain a few questions and move forward.
Thank you, maximum 5 questions.
Thank you, sir.
As you respond to the questions.
Please stop in the queue. 5 presents.
1 question.
Please stop in the queue. 5 presents. Facing the details that come forward. Be very clear.
Well, good morning. My name is Will Woodford. I report for World Media Network, director of the Time newspaper. Honorable IG.
So what's the name of who you report for?
Will Woodford, OC and Time Nigeria newspaper. Honorable IG, I listen to you, and the Nigerian people also follow you. The last time you called 7 lawmakers, they want to know whether you called them for arrest, detention, or what exactly you called them for.
Thank you.
Next person. 5 presents.
Well, 7 lawmakers were called to conclude the investigation. On the day that they were called, they had the last interview, and it's at that interview that the conclusion was made as to who were to be charged and who would have been released. Out of the 7, 5 were charged, and 2 of them were released. Thank you.
My name is Mopolu, and I run a multimedia hub, and my question goes to you, IG. Your men were seen on live video, dragging the CDC chairperson, something that many Liberians expressed disappointment, including the Council of Churches. Are you proud of the men, or you want to apologize?
Thank you, please.
Well, I watched the video. I did not see my men drag the CDC chairperson. At no point in time did they drag him. More so, I raised concerns about that particular action and said it was under a review for the use of force. The Professional Standards Division was instructed, and that review is ongoing. It is my hope that the chairperson will cooperate with the investigation and come forward if he has any clues or counter clues in that regard. Thank you. And indeed, yes, I am proud of him, and they showed remarkable discipline and professionalism. Thank you.
So, my name is Joseph Sedif, and I report for ABC Radio. Police IG, I just want to know if you were to give us a picture or because the government initiated a no-go zone. If you were to give us a picture of, motorcyclists that are taking off the street, can you give us a picture of the crime rate in our country? Because the intent was to minimize violence and to also minimize the criminal activities across our streets. So if you were to give us a picture, what's the current picture of the crime rate in our country? Thank you.
So thank you. I think that's an excellent question. We have sometimes, when you take some of these decisions, you're looking at one direction, but then it has a multiplier effect, and that has been the case with the motorcyclists flying the Main Street. We were more concerned about their safety, and that was the basis upon which this decision was taken. But beyond the safety, it did speak to the issue of crime reduction as well, which around this time, we did a comparison of the last 5 years statistics of our crime rate. And when you look at this time around the year, as soon as the rain begins, there's always a surge. More so, we had a release of some high-profile criminals after serving over 2 terms of court from the central prison. So it was our anticipation that by this time, we will have had 2 times the spike that we normally see around this time of the year. Knock on wood, the crime rate has remained relatively low. We've had instances of armed robbery, one on Dupo Road, and another one reported in the Barnesville area, major armed robberies. So we're tracking these different groups. We're using proactive measures. We're deploying more intelligence to be able to counter them in the day before they can strike at night. So we're reassuring the public that there are measures in place to ensure that we keep the crime rate down. But on the overall, these are just more of opportunistic crimes driven by substance abuse and what have you. That is why we advise people to take proactive measures and not to expose themselves to dangerous areas. Like you leave something visible in the vehicle is an attraction even for the owners, not even for just criminals. So we ask people to safeguard themselves while we work tirelessly to ensure that we prevent crimes from happening. Thank you.
So my name is Ines Ruiz Soko. I listened to you, Mr. IG, and I just want to say this. This awesome case is followed by not just the citizenry, the international partners are also watching. And I think every result from this awesome case will enable the security sector to regain public trust. And I hope Yanti understands label. I quietly listened to you when you spoke about in no way has anyone contacted Yanti with the clarification made. Are you concerned about contacting those listed by Yanti in making further questioning to those individuals concerning what the striking revelation he has given? Because there are a lot of things embedded within what is ongoing. And I hope Yanti understands that. And with you just making clarification on in no way has anyone contacted him with the revelation he has made, are there further actions by your institution to contact those that he has listed in order to have your work easily done?
Okay, so what Mr. Yanti may not know, where he was taken, regardless of whatever the location was considered a safe house. And there are protocols that cover a safe house, especially when you have people under search and protection. Everyone who spoke to him were under video surveillance. So, if Mr. Yanti can come out and bring, like you say, he has recordings and back and forth, if he can bring recording or any documentation indicating that these things were made, we will consider them. But from our end, we know that everyone that spoke to him, some of the names he clean spoke to him, yes, they are part of the investigation, and they have all rights to be there to talk to him about the investigation and not to coerce him in any way to lie. This case has been on the basis of good evidence and good evidence only. At no point in time will we try to compromise our integrity or the integrity of the investigation or the state itself to try to falsify evidence. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever to put any extra twist to this case. This is a strong, a solid case. I believe, like I said, from day one, the men were very professional in their dealings. We followed international protocols. We compared notes with international investigators. We compared with other actors to make sure that we had crossed our T's and dotted our I's. We are not worried about gathering anything extra. We have sufficient at this point in time. Look, the thing here, what you all don't understand is that all of you here, your platforms are being used as a means of adjudicating this matter in the public. Those who have concerns with the report, that's where it should be adjudicated. Then take the evidence to the court. No evidence is not evidence. When you say, oh, you push out no evidence, it doesn't mean you have the evidence. So go to the court. We appreciate what you all do. I mean, it's a part of the democracy. But you all should be very careful understanding the fact that these people are just trying to use the platform to sway the jurors, to sway potential jurors, to put in the minds of the public that this thing is not real. What is evident is the fact that that building lies in ruins. What is evident is the fact that all you have videos in your phone with a flame and a thick black smoke. What you do have evidence of is that there was an assault on the democracy. And nobody has ever answered for it in this country. Look, the culture of impunity will start in this country. And if we cannot stop that culture of impunity, we cannot stop corruption, we cannot stop anything here. Under this administration, as we have served as a team, we're going to go after anyone who breaks the law, regardless of your social status, your class, your position, whatever. If you break the law, you're going to demand bail coming from you.
So thank you, Mr. Aji. Last question back, and I will vote for Mr. Aji. So we have gathered that Mr. Ilanti was recovered and was kept at a hotel. Instead, the requirements of the police. Can you tell us why, or can you tell us about the situation as to whether he was kept at a hotel or was being kept at the headquarters of the National Police?
Thank you.
Where was he kept?
Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Yanti, like I said, was kept on the safe house protocols. Where, which area, that I'm not going to review yet, but yes, he was not at the Liberia National Police headquarters. He was kept in a safe house on a safe house protocol. At this point in time, I'll take no further questions. I want to thank you all for all of the support. And please remember, this is about Liberia, North Liberia, Big Liberia, and let's bring Liberia together. Thank you.